Welcome. So let's take a look at some altcoin charts, and I think we'll probably leave Bitcoin out for today and just stick to altcoins. I am in logarithmic chart at the moment, and we're just going to take a look at some that have posted some nice gains today and over this last week, and I'm going to go through exactly what I'm looking for to give me confidence in starting to gain further exposure. And I was never interested in trying to pick the bottom over the last few weeks. We did mid-March try and time the bottom on Bitcoin, and we had that third drive lower, so we were a little bit early, and it was good risk management from us and good timing from us to quickly flip bias back to short for that third drive lower. And at that point, I was not interested in trying to pick another bottom a lot of these charts and stick to what I usually do and what I know, and that's to start to frame my reversal and what I like to call early signs of reversal. So there's a few signatures that I look for. We're going to go over these in these altcoin charts, and ultimately, rather than trying to pick bottoms and pick the lows, we gain exposure and we look for trades, long setups based on these signatures being met. Okay, early sign of reversal. So it just gives us a convincing opportunity to regain exposure back into the market and be happy with that decision. So we're going to go through this anyway, and we're going to look at structures like this structure, um, this structure over here, and whenever we have these early signs of reversals, okay, they pretty much happen both long and short, okay? So don't just think that I'm just looking at this from a long setup. This is something that I look for both long and short, right? And there's plenty of signatures that we can see in this chart alone on Fetch, okay, or ASI, right? And when we look at these structures, so let's take the most let's take the one from January 2024, January, February 2024, before we had a bit of a pullback and then we had the reversal. So this structure in particular that we're looking at. Okay, so what we want to do ultimately is begin to frame, and you can just see from a monthly candle perspective that this was the structure that we're actually looking at. Okay, and as you can see, if you just take some key levels, so let's take this low, let's take this low here, okay, and let's call that, okay, sell side liquidity or sell stops, either or, doesn't really matter, right? And all this you can do this on your own charts, and all we're looking for in particular. So imagine back in this moment of time in January, February. So in the February monthly candle, we're looking for this sweep on liquidity, which is just here, okay, which is what we get here. You get the raid on the January low, right? You get the raid and then you get a strong bounce, right? So as you can see, we've got a very similar situation right here at the moment, and we're actually putting in a stronger move. Okay, so if you take our current candle, so our current previous month high and previous month low, yeah, and as you can see, we've had a very strong move. We've had a very, very strong move to take the previous month low and we're now just hovering over the equilibrium, right? So what I'd be looking for in the case of from a monthly perspective, and you can see there's plenty of there is plenty of other occasions. So let's take this structure here. As you can see, this was a bit of a pullback higher and then big reversal. So same situation, that you can take this March 2022 high, right? Okay, let's try that again. You can take this March 2022 high, right? Call this buy side liquidity or buy stop hunt. Yeah, okay, so this is a major level at this point in time. Okay, and as you can see, we had the raid on March 2022 high just here, and you can actually see that we closed. Okay, what did we do? We closed below the March 2022 low, right? So you have to think that we were already beginning a downtrend. Okay, we were already beginning to pull back, right? We had a bit of a relief. So ultimately, at this point in time, you're looking at whether price is going to continue in the direction that price started to trend within, which is down. So you'd be looking for a close above the March 2022 high to reverse fully to then target this high, or you'd then be looking for a close below the March 2022 low for continuation, and that's what we got there. Okay, so we're just applying the same concept as we did here to the opposite side of the market, so sell side delivery, right? And is there anywhere else that's more notable? There's potentially this structure too that's is a bit more consolidation, but again, you had the early signs of reversal because you got the liquidity sweep here. Okay, so these are what I like to call pretty much given sell programs. Okay, so this would be a sell program, right? Okay, and what I'd like to call from, this is obviously from a monthly perspective at the minute. Okay, buy program. Okay, buy program, and then we have the buy program, which was here too. Okay, right, so obviously we're just looking at the monthly perspective at the moment, and then we'll jump down into the weekly because this is just top-down analysis and time frame alignment. So we are at this moment of time, we are trying to frame what is price doing, and we've actually got a bit of a buy program over here too, right? We're just trying to frame what is price, okay, going to do next, and does it meet all of our signatures for a reversal? And for us to get the full picture, the full story, we have to jump through the time frames, right? And in Fetch in particular, or ASI, is it's still down 83%, and it was down nearly 90%. Okay, so it's still a exceptional opportunity. If this is the early signs of reversal, as I've said, with not even this up close candle that we're potentially going to have this month in April, hasn't closed out yet and finished. And you can just see that typically you start to see larger reversals, right? Which has happened plenty of times. Yeah, sometimes there's a bit of a consolidation first before reversing higher, like we have over here, or like we have here. Okay, you take significant sell side liquidity and the previous candle highs and lows, and then you begin to reverse higher, right? So this is very similar situation as what I'm expecting at the moment, and you can actually see that there was another sell program, similar to as well what we just went through over there. Over here is, let's put demonstration mode on, shall we? Okay, you have again the raid on this high, and then you can just see that, you know, the way you have to think about it is wicks do the damage. Okay, wicks do the damage, candle bodies tell the story, right? And this is why I always talk about where is the candle closure. Okay, right, and that's, you get a good candle body closure, that's when we start to begin to really, in this case, equilibrium. We then target previous month high, right? So in this case, buy side liquidity was taken, so this candle range high was taken. This then becomes our sell program. Okay, so we've got the raid here. This becomes our sell program. We know we were beginning to trend down again. All right. Yes, we had a bit of a relief. So what we wanted to really see in this down close candle, we wanted to see another up close candle and actually close above this up close candle high, right? To then continue higher. But actually, we got the close below, which you can see here. This is where we closed in this down close candle. And then you can see that it was just continuation and it was pretty relentless. And at that point, you begin to chase further sell side liquidity. So for example, we chase this low, we chase this low, and we chase just further inefficiencies in the market. So this is an inefficiency. This would be a bullish fair value gap that we traded within. Ultimately, this would have been our target, but as you said, we didn't actually reach there. Okay, so right, so if we now move to the weekly time frame, and we can get rid of those drawings now. Okay, so in the weekly time frame, let's in fact draw out our previous month high and previous month low again, previous month range. Okay, just jump down to the weekly, and as you can see at the moment, okay, you can see we're just poking our head above the equilibrium of the previous month's range. So ultimately, this is what we want to see it close above, right? And again, apply the same concepts to all of your altcoin charts and Bitcoin and everything. I go through this on all my videos. We want to see now a close above the equilibrium of the previous month range. Now, when we look at the weekly time frame, okay, we can draw out our previous week range, which is here. Okay, so previous week high, previous week low. And you can see that we have two key levels, right? We have a key level this weekly close, so today, which is previous week high. And then we have a key level being the equilibrium of the previous month range, right? If we get the close above previous week high, applying the same concepts as we did to the monthly time frame, if we get the close above previous week high, which is here, then what would that indicate? That would indicate trend continuation, right? To then target previous month high, and that this was the reversal, okay? And as you can see, that this down close candle, okay, this was actually the given that price was going to reverse, because what we had was, we had in this down close candle, okay, so this was our candle range, this was our candle range of interest, right? You can see that we had taken this wick low, sell side liquidity, and we had closed below, right? We then, this down close candle forms a new range. This up close candle takes the candle range low, okay? raid on liquidity. And then you can see that we had a strong move up and we got the close actually above this candle range, right? And you have to think at this moment of time, this would have been the previous week range. So we get the close above, and then it's trend continuation of the up close candles. Okay, so a potential uptrend. So this here was actually our early signs of reversal. This now is us identifying our trend continuation. Okay, and in order for us to continue in this potential reversal, this potential trend, we need to see the close above previous week high. Okay, and even better if we get the close above equilibrium. So this is what it looks like we're going to get at the moment. We're going to potentially have a strong weekly close on a lot of these altcoin charts, in particular AI tokens, which is fantastic. If we get the close above equilibrium and fetch, FET or ASI's case, then we begin to target previous month high, which is towards 80 cents. Okay, and it's a very similar situation with the likes of Render is another one that we had a very similar situation where we had the previous month range, okay, which you can see here. Previous month's range. Okay, and you can actually see this is a lot. This, in my opinion, is a lot better. Right, it's a lot stronger. You get the raid, get the previous month low raid, which is just here, as you can see. We trade right into another inefficiency, similar as ASI. Okay, so yes, this is in fact a breakaway gap, because you can see that we break out of a period of consolidation. Okay, and typically with breakaway gaps, for them to be, I'd say, true breakaway gaps, you don't really want to see price actually trade beyond breakaway gaps. So I would say this isn't a true breakaway gap, but it does have characteristics of one. And I would favour calling this a breakaway gap more than just a bullish fair value gap or buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency, because we have obviously broken out of a period of consolidation right here. But yeah, we've traded right back into that, and you can see we've got the previous month range. We've taken previous month low, which is here, and we're actually going to get the close above the equilibrium, which is here. And potentially by monthly close, the close above previous month high. Okay, so in the case of Render, I would really like to see a close above previous month high just here. And you can actually see that we have another inefficiency in the market, being sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, and monthly bearish fair value gap, which is just here. Okay, which is our SIBI, right? So ultimately what I'm looking for from Render's perspective is we get a strong close above equilibrium this month, which we're going to get. So I'd like to get a close above this, which it looks probabilistic wise that's going to happen. And if we get the close above previous month high, even better, right? And we can potentially, let's see if we can see. So there's this case over here. You can sort of make a case for a similar situation where we had the raid on this candle range low, but then we actually got a big up close candle closing well above this candle range, but then you can see it was quickly followed by a raid on liquidity from this up close candle, and you can see this was the beginning of our sell program, right? So we do have a buy program at the minute, just here. This was our sell program, overall continuation of what was beginning to be a downtrend. So this was our sell program. You can see we've got the candle body closure within this candle range, and then trend continuation was indicated by the next monthly candle closure, which actually closed, as you can see, below this month's low here, right? Okay, so candle body closure here, below this monthly candle's low, trend continuation. So ultimately, what we do want to see is a close above previous month high to continue higher. But even equilibrium makes for a strong case, and we may just consolidate for a little bit further, which would be also good to further average into positions before an overall trend reversal higher. And again, weekly time frame shows pretty much a similar story, and you can actually see from over here where we had the big reversal after bottoming out in 2022, 2023. You can see that we had this candle range here, okay, right? So we had this candle range here, this down close candle, and you can see we had taken this candle range low, right? So this was indicating potential early signs of reversal, and we even took sell side liquidity from this candle low and from this low as well. So we'd taken sufficient sell side liquidity, and we had taken the candle range low. We got the close, as you can see, we got the close above equilibrium, okay, which is a similar situation as what we're looking at the moment. We got the close above equilibrium, which you can see just here, okay. You can see where we opened, right, and then we continued higher, okay, and as you can see, that was a humongous reversal, right? So this was our buy program, okay, and this is a similar situation as what we're looking for at the moment. Is this the start of our buy program, and why could it be the start of our buy program? And you can actually see from if we get rid of the monthly breakaway gap, you can actually see price traded within this bullish weekly fair value gap just here, okay. It's not a very strong bullish fair value gap. I like to usually see 3 consecutive up close candles in this case, as opposed to 1, 2, and then 1 down close candle. I'd like to see 3, but this is a bullish fair value gap. You can see we had raided liquidity here, began to reverse, continuation of the trend, overall uptrend. We traded right within this. Okay, so this is our key point of interest, our high time frame key point of interest, which we've had a strong bounce from now. We had taken, of course, the previous month low, which we've already taken a look at now. We can also get rid of the monthly sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, and we can look at this from a weekly time frame. Okay, so weekly time frame, we have this candle range. Okay, so as you can see from this candle range, we had taken the candle range low. We know we had taken the previous month low. In this case, from a weekly time frame, would be sell side liquidity or sell stop hunt, either or. Okay, we had taken sell side liquidity. So again, we've taken sufficient liquidity from the market, traded into a key high time frame PD array or point of interest, and this is all the signatures for a potential reversal. We then got this up close candle above equilibrium, which is the equilibrium here, we closed here. Okay, and now we are looking to close above the candle range high. Okay, so this, if we get to close above the candle range high this week, this weekly close, and the close above this previous week range, which you can see here. Okay, so this is the previous week range. Okay, it makes for a very compelling case that render is looking to continue this potential reversal and target higher, right? And we've already seen we had a monthly bearish fair value gap. We also have a weekly bearish fair value gap here, which you can see. So, ultimately that's targeting $6 again. So at the moment, a lot of these AI tokens, Render, Fetch, Tau is another one. As you can see, they're posting good gains this weekend and this last week. This is potentially where we're actually going to see a lot of the movement in the market because they sold off the most, right? That narrative, it lasted for quite a bit of time when you think about it, considering all things that, they bottomed in 2022, 2023, and then they had this big uptrend, relatively speaking, and you can see Fetch again bottomed out in 2023. So, this is what we're looking for at the moment. I think the reversal could be a lot more aggressive than what we've seen previously. However, if we do just continue to consolidate and really bottom out, that would be most optimal, I think, for a lot of people. But that's also the reason why I don't think that would happen, and we might just actually begin to reverse in this case now, right? So we want the close above candle range high and the previous week high, obviously the close above the monthly equilibrium, and then we begin to target higher. So yeah, it's a very similar situation again with Tau. There's a few other altcoin charts so showing a very similar thing too, but I think we'll close this one having looked at Render and Fetch, or ASI, and we'll take a look at some other ones in another video. Okay, cheers.